This podcast is brought to you with limited interruption by Rudy Luther Toyota. Whether looking for an exciting brand new Toyota, a certified pre-owned vehicle, or getting quality routine maintenance and service for your vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota is the place to go. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley. Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours, it's 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Good to have you with us today on your Friday, Saturday for you in Seattle. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Matt and Patrick here today. Patrick, how are we today?
Doing pretty well. What's your weekend looking like ahead?
I have an apple orchard in my horizon, dude. I'm sorry. We were talking about this last week. I just love them. And so we're going to find an apple orchard, I think, on Sunday. Get on out there. Try to get some of the sweet tangos. Because, like I said, I love those things. And, yeah, they're pricey. I mean, I will say this. There was an orchard I used to go to back when the kids were little, and this place was great. And we'd go out there, and they had the big bags were, I think, $25 back then. And so we'd go on out there, and we'd load up, and all of a sudden we realized we're getting a heck of a value for this. So we'd actually buy extra bags, because apples, if you keep an apple in a cool fridge, they'll last a few months. You know, you're going to be good. And so we did. We took advantage of it and gave people gifts of apples and stuff. When that orchard closed, because the guy that was there, and he had great apple donuts too, those mini donuts with a little apple in them. Oh, killing me, Matt. That guy passed away. He was an elderly fella. He passed away, so that orchard kind of went away. The trees are still there. I drive by it every once in a while, especially in the fall. I just like, is anyone taking it over? Nope. But they have the apple trees still out there. But I went to this kind of commercialized apple orchard. And to say there was sticker shock was a understatement. I went there, and this is one of those places, it's more about the kids. They've got the petting farm and the train and the corn pit, which I wouldn't go in there, and the corn maze and the pumpkin patch and all sorts of good things. And the kids love it. But if you want to go pick apples, you're paying, I think it was $30 for the small bag, which is like 7 apples. I'm like, dude, I'm no good at, I'm not the best math guy, but I'm getting ripped off here. So I found a place. I go on out west of the metro area. You got to drive a little bit, but you get out there, you still can find some pretty good value. And, you know, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go do those. And yum. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. September, can I just say for the record, September, a grossly underrated month in this country. Fantastic. Yeah, well, maybe not in the very southern tier. I mean, it's still hot as all get-go down there. Ugh. That game, that Sunday night game with the Bears and Houston, they're saying it's cooled down to 90. It's like, what? No, I don't know. I'm not, no. You guys enjoy that down there. I'm up on the northern tier. I'm cool with, I love it when we start getting into the 60s, because then it's like, oh, yeah, now you get the feeling of fall. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I want to go on a little rant here to begin the show, if I can. In regards to the attacks we have seen in Speingfield, Ohio, and in Aurora, Colorado, in regards to immigrants, and the vilification of the immigrant population by Donald Trump and Republicans. I want to bring this up because today I had a little reminder the value that immigrants bring to this country. And it has to do with when I see people do what you would consider to be a routine task. They do it with such efficiency and beauty and speed that you realize, oh, this is why we should be celebrating immigration, is because there's a lot of people coming here doing things that the vast majority of us could not do. And yet they do it with stunning ease. They make it look easy. I know it's not easy. I know it's a lifetime skill set. When I was in a previous radio life, I was in Ames, Iowa. I worked for a radio group down there, KASI and KCCQ. And I did. I had an office on the second floor on the window on Main Street. And I got to look down onto Main Street as they ripped up the main street of Ames, Iowa, and redid the whole thing. Just some, basic infrastructure improvements they had to do. One day they were doing the curbs. And they had to bring the curb over to where it came into the intersection where there was the gradual slope down to the street level, so people that were handicapped had no problem getting across there, and they were doing it. And I got to watch a lot of skills being displayed. I mean, they did a lot of great brickwork, some design work. But the thing that really amazed me, and something that we walk past every day, I watched a guy with a trowel, mold concrete into a curb in stunning speed. An absolute skill set. This thing where unskilled labor. What are you freaking talking about? I want to imagine, take a pile of soft concrete and mold it with a trowel, a piece of metal on a handle, and mold it into something that looks like a curb, and tell me you can do that with any kind of speed or efficiency. Because this guy did that, and he was a master at concrete work. It was unbelievable to watch him work. I remember that. It was so good. Here it is, 25 plus years later, and I still remember that dude and the work he did, and he just did it, and he moved on to the next curb, and he did it, and he moved on to the next curb. It was spectacular. I went and visited my when my grandmother was still around. I went and visited her and my uncle down in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And this is back as well when people were talking about immigrants. And I asked my uncle about it, and he stopped the car and he pointed to a house where it was like, your standard Arizona 106. It was just brutal outside. And he pointed to the guys doing the roofing work, and he said, "That's skilled labor. Don't tell me it is." And he said, "I don't care if they're documented or undocumented. You're willing to come to Phoenix, Arizona and roof in the heat. You deserve to be able to be here with respect and dignity, and be here and do the work and no one give you any grief." Because he said, as much as people like to complain, they're stealing jobs, no one is going to hop on up there and start roofing houses in Phoenix at 106 degrees. Take your Cheeto-stained fingers as you sit there on the couch after you've watched your 8th hour of Netflix, as you complain about, "I want a job." You're not going out there and doing that. You're not going down to Ames, Iowa, and molding a curb. Today, I got to watch guys lay concrete and make a flat surface and do it with stunning ability. I mean, it's an art form. And it might not look like it's an art form to a lot of people, and it's something that we walk past every day, but you see I've got to watch people do this. Now, I want to be very straightforward. The people that were doing it, that were doing the actual molding the concrete, were of Hispanic heritage. They could have been 6th-generation American. Salute. They could have been documented workers. Fantastic. They could have been undocumented workers. I don't care. You have a skill set we need here in this country. God bless you. Get in here. Bravo. Well done. They are out there working hard, regardless of what their status is. American citizen, documented, immigrant with the documentation or an immigrant that's undocumented. They're here working hard, doing jobs that you do not want to do. We've had this discussion before, where in red areas they have gone out there and made it virtually impossible for undocumented workers to be there, and suddenly they can't find people to go work in the fields. It's a great little dirty secret. I'll get to that here in a second. But the reality is that you have to appreciate the work that these people are doing. And they're doing it with stunning ability. And probably for a wage that no one here is willing to do the same thing for, one half as efficiently as they are in this country. God bless you. Welcome. If you're already here, great. If you're documented or undocumented, I don't care. For goodness sakes, this is what America is. Now, once again, I'll start with the obvious. If you're Native American, the people being here, it's not. It's something that is obviously. You were wronged. You were wronged, undeniably. And it's, as far as the toughest and hardiest people in this country, I have yet to see anyone stack up pound for pound with the Native Americans. They have been wronged over and over again. They have been disrespected over and over again, and yet here they are still being part of the experiment and frankly, knowing things that white America has forgotten for a long time, people have forgotten. They are there. They are still being, as in some ways, far more intelligent and far more practical than the immigrant population ever has been here. And so I salute the Native Americans. With the people that have come here, if you're sitting there bad-mouthing immigrants, I want to make sure you understand, you're bad-mouthing your own ancestors. Now, I get it. You like to think that I came here, my family got here, and we punched the clock when we got here. No, you didn't. The idea of immigration into this country was haphazard at best. People would show up in a boat. There's supposed to be 100 people on it. There were 600 people on it. They all got off. No one really, they just went into the cities. They went into the countries. They went out there and they took advantage of what America was, generally at the expense of the Native Americans. But they went here and they did this, and this idea that we came in and we had all of our paperwork. And no, you didn't. It wasn't really until we needed to basically start vilifying immigrant groups on a kind of a ramped up scale that this whole concept of, we need to have incredibly documented immigration. That's a modern thing, generally pushed with a racist ideology. I'll talk more about that when I come on back. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Busy day, by the way. I got a lot of stuff going on here. Coming up here in the coming up here at the end of this hour, we've got the Philip Anthony from the Downright Upright Show. He's going to join us. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, I got Tabitha Montgomery from Porchfest, the Powderhorn Porchfest coming in, and Michael Brodkorb coming in at the tail end of the 4 o'clock hour. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So, watching labor work and watching people, regardless of who they are, whether they're American citizens, documented immigrants, undocumented immigrants, it is amazing to watch people who are willing to do the jobs most of us will not do, not for the wages they get paid, and do them so damn good, it is hard to comprehend. And when you look at Republicans bad-mouthing immigrants, one of the things that I say to myself is, you guys realize you're bad-mouthing your own heritage, right? Because I guarantee you, and once again, unless you're Native American, you got here, you might want to think, we came here with the moneybags boat. No, you didn't. You probably came here broke as all broke could be. because America presented something which your country probably had not given, which is an opportunity to make yourself as an individual. And whether that came from, the groups that came, whether the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, or the Chinese, the Japanese, the Korean, from the entire South America continent, Central America, the Caribbean, coming from Canada, coming from Africa. No matter where you've come here because you needed something better. In the case of the Haitians, they're escaping a war-torn, absolute mess of a country. Get them here. If this is the safe spot, if you're a Christian, get them here, for goodness sakes. And by the way, anytime the Haitians want to start making the Caribbean food, I'm 100% on board. Oh, man, I love a good fried plantain. Oh, fantastic. You see, this is how America gets better. You get people coming here doing jobs that most of us won't do. Many of them doing a far better job than anyone that's already here would ever do anyway, at a pay scale that most people here would never work for. And then they bring their culture, and let me tell you something. As a man that lives in a major metropolitan city, and I know the people of Chicago know this, and I know the people of Seattle know this, for God's sakes, it makes it better. The cultures that we have here, it makes us better. My ancestors generally came from Scotland. They came across I believe, the 1840s. One of my great-great-grandfather drove a streetcar in New York. They fought for the North in the Civil War. When they discovered iron ore in northern Michigan, because they had some mining background, they went up there and got jobs, and they worked there. Do you think, you get this mentality of they're whistling as they go into the ground, and there's plenty of lights, everybody there, and everyone's working great. No. Those people that were working in the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, into the 1900s, if you were a miner, you went into the dark for 10 to 12 hours a day. You had to pay for your own candles. You did. There wasn't any lit-up world where you could go work. You're working in an insanely dangerous environment where lots of explosives and large rocks that could fall on you at any point. And you worked probably 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, some places 7 days a week. You had to. That was the option. They worked far harder than pretty much anyone that's here. And thanks, by the way, to the Iron Range and the mining in northern Minnesota, where my family came on into this little state, that the guys from Finland, the Finns, they got here, and they brought in the labor laws that they had there, and that's where they started the labor movement and the Iron Range with the guys from Finland. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. By the way, love a good fish with some cranberry sauce. Needless to say, I've got my favorites. You can bring people here, and they all started off working insanely hard to get a piece of the American pie. The other side of my family, Germans, Ohio. They were pre-industrial revolution. They were clearing fields with oxen and blades and shovels. They were growing food not only to try to sell for a few dollars, but to feed themselves through winter. They got married. They didn't necessarily get married to someone they cared for. It was a business opportunity. So I need someone in the house that if I bring this crop on in, they can preserve it. They can cook it. They can save it so that come January and February, we're not dying of starvation. They had to work their cabooses off. None of us today work like that. Well, at least none of us whose families have been here for a few generations. I should say none of us. The vast majority of us. The vast majority of us don't work that hard. But there are people out there that are willing to come here. And once again, the great lie that the Republicans say about immigration is they keep constantly making the argument that somehow, some way, that we'll be better without immigrants, as many of the people that bankroll them, especially bankroll them in rural America, need undocumented workers to come work in the farms, work in the ag sector, work in the slaughterhouses, because it's the only way they can get their price points they need to get them at. So as they are paying people to scream about, we need to get rid of this undocumented workers, the people that are paying them to say that are people who are saying, whatever you do, don't get rid of the undocumented workers or else we're done. It's the great lie of the conservative immigration argument. They don't want to get rid of it. So what is this about? What is Trump talking about? What's Vance talking about? What have Republicans been demonizing immigrants for the last 50 years? Why? Racism. It's good old-fashioned racism. They're not trying to get their jobs. They couldn't take a trowel and make a curb if their life depended on it. And they're sure not about to do that with the pay that many of these immigrant groups get. Nope. It's not about getting their job. It's not about really getting undocumented workers out of the workforce, because the people that are bankrolling this on the conservative side don't want to get rid of them. It's not about whether or not these people are coming from war-torn countries where they will be killed if they stay. Nope, it's racism. It's racism 101. And their skin's a little darker than the white people, so they go after them. And they vilify them, and they try to wrap their bigotry and hatred in this thin veil of legitimate policy concern. No, it's not. It's just racism. I really can't stand this part of American culture today. We're supposed to have learned our lesson. We're supposed to understand that we are a melting pot. We are supposed to welcome in people like my ancestors were welcomed in, even though they were disliked back then. But there's a difference between the 1860s and 2024. We're supposed to be better than this. And to watch a portion of America delve into the deepest, disgusting behavior that we have, it's disappointing. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Take the jobs that you are willing to take and enjoy. I hope you have a great time. And please, by all means, bring your food with you. I love it. Because that's what America is all about. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Friday.
Hey, Mr. DJ, put a record on. I want to dance with my baby.
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in the nighttime hours, 11:50 a.m. KKNW in Seattle, and in the afternoons on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Friday, Saturday for you in Seattle. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. So we have the Republicans who basically are a bunch of freaking hypocrites. This is not about Mark Robinson, although once again the stunning lack of people in the Republican Party telling that guy to step aside is pretty astounding. I mean, the fact that what he was caught doing. Have you read some of those posts that he made? Oh my! Not for kids and not for people that want to sleep. He said some pretty atrocious things on the porn site there. Yikes. Happy holidays. Is his wife still with him? I just have to ask that question. Is his sister-in-law? I don't know. He's just, yikes. Yikes. And by the way, that's not an exaggeration. What I just alluded to there, yikes. Nope. Republicans are hypocrites. They haven't. We're high moral fiber, and of course they went with Trump. But here's another example, a guy that clearly should not be on the ballot. And, well, I don't want to get involved. I mean, the people of North Carolina, probably is going to cost you the election, but knock yourself out. Republicans a few years back, and this was, I think, kind of back in the 90s, there were some states that started to push for the idea of we should break apart the electoral college votes back when the states were generally more a traditional blue state. I'll give a great example was Ohio. I remember Ohio was being mentioned about that because at that point the Democrats were winning Ohio on a consistent basis, and the argument was, well, why should a winner take all? Shouldn't it be back to the districts sort of thing? And at that point, what it seemed like is the Republicans trying to find some way to fix the election. Because in deep red states, of course they're not going to break it down. Like in Texas, they're not going to break it down. They don't want the Dallas House reps and electoral votes from Dallas and Houston and San Antonio and Austin going to the Democrats. They want a winner take all. So red states, they don't want to do that. But states that are kind of toss-up, we should think about this. There are currently 2 states. One is Nebraska, the other one is Maine, that do not allot their entire electoral college litany to the winner of the state. In the case of Nebraska, I believe it is, the 2 votes go for the state winner, and then each of the 3 congressional districts get awarded a vote, which is a little bit sketchy for them because of Omaha. And in 2020, Omaha went, the Nebraska 2nd District went for Joe Biden. Well, once again, back when they thought it might give them an advantage, they were pushing the idea of, well, we should break apart electoral college votes in these states. Today, they are desperately trying to figure out a way to stop this. With 8 weeks to go until Election Day, Nebraska Republicans are considering passing a law to change how the state distributes its electoral college votes in a bid to deny Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris any votes from the state. Nebraska is one of 2 states, along with Maine, that does not allocate its electoral votes to the overall winner of the state. The state's 2nd congressional district, centered in Omaha and its suburbs, has swung towards Democrats since former President Trump was elected in 2016. Trump only narrowly won the district after GOP nominee Mitt Romney won it comfortably in 2012. In 2020, President Biden won the district and its entire electoral vote by 6.5%. The most recent polling of the district shows Harris with a similar lead to Biden's 2020 margin. That wasn't the case with when Biden was in the race. When Walz, whose family, he was born down there, entered the race, they quite wisely sent Tim Walz down there to campaign and immediately took that district, the Nebraska 2nd, and flipped it towards the D. So, yeah, it's looking like one electoral college vote from Nebraska is going to go to the Democrats. A new push to change Nebraska's electoral vote allocation is being led by GOP Governor Jim Pillen and Senator Lindsey Graham. Graham flew to the state to lobby lawmakers at the governor's mansion on Wednesday. Nebraska's entire congressional delegation also endorsed the push in a letter on Wednesday to Pillen and Joan Arch, the Republican Speaker of the state's unicameral legislature. They also have that little trick down there. U.S. Representatives Don Bacon and Adrian Smith said they believe the push for the winner-take-all result remained 3 or 4 votes shy in the Nebraska legislature as of Friday morning. Because if you change this, then it's all about trying to rig the system for the Republicans to win. And you can argue all day long that, no, it's about voter integrity, blah, 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 blah. We want to make sure that representative... No, you've lost any ability for you to take the high road. Smith claimed a unified slate of electors would give Nebraska far more say in the presidential election. What are you talking about? Seriously, that's a stupid statement. Governor Walz went there. If it was a winner-take-all state, now I'm not saying Walz wouldn't have gone because of his family background, but in a year where there wouldn't be any connection at all between the Democrats and Nebraska, you think that they're going to spend a lot of time in Nebraska? They're already spending far more time in Nebraska than they have had in a long time. You'll be like Wyoming. Trust me. It's someone made the point about Trump. Trump went out to Long Island. Why did you go to Long Island? You're not going to win that state. He went out there because it was close to home. It's bad. He doesn't want to go to North Carolina or Georgia anymore. He's trying to find ways to go to places he wants to go. You don't go and campaign in a state you know you're going to lose. And so if you do this, you're not going to get hardly any attention because, well, frankly, if it looks like it's a slam dunk for the Republicans, why would the Democrats spend a lot of time there? So your argument of, well, people will pay more attention to Nebraska, no, that doesn't play out. Right now, we have a diminished say with the way the legislature has its place. Smith told the Huffington Post a winner-take-all result would give Nebraska Democrats less say in the presidential outcome. Bacon said splitting electors is a better way for representing the popular will, but only if it's all states do it. Oh, okay. I'm for it, but unless Texas does it, well, Texas ain't going to do it. And reminder, when this whole idea was pushed, it wasn't about basically getting all states on board. It was only trying to get states where Democrats were doing better or winning those states to basically peel off a few of the votes to the Republicans. And now it's on the other foot, and it's biting them. Oh, well, no, we don't have to do it anymore. I wish every state did it our way. I think it's fair. Dude, if every state did it your way, you'd get trounced. The reason why, trust me, a large portion of Texas's electoral college votes would all of a sudden be going to the Democrats. You would, I'll just take Minnesota. Minnesota, probably 2, 3, 4, and 5 would all be going to the Democrats. Republicans would pick up a few seats here, but then you go to like Texas or to Florida, and how many seats do the Democrats? So you lose 4 in Minnesota, but you're going to pick up 25 in Texas. You're going to pick up 20 or so in Florida. Yeah, you guys don't want this everywhere because you would be losing mightily, especially if it became that's how it was elected. I guarantee you nothing will get turnout bigger in slightly D districts or D districts more than that. So it's not about doing this for the betterment of the elections. It's basically about trying to fix the elections. Nebraska changes how it allocates its electoral votes. It could have a significant impact on the outcome of the election. If Harris wins the 3 northern blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, then she wouldn't need to win any other swing state and to win the election. If, however, the one electoral vote from Nebraska instead goes to Trump, it could in winner-take-all allocation. Harris would need to win either Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, or North Carolina to avoid the tied election. I will make sure and mention here, right now she is starting to lead pretty good in Nevada and Arizona. North Carolina, I think we should just wait for the next polls because I'm going to have a feeling she's going to be taking the lead in that state too. And, well, she's already been leading. I think she's been leading by 2 or 3 points there. The only other option to avoid a tied electoral college vote in this scenario would be for the lawmakers in Maine to change how they allocate electoral votes as well. Trump won the one electoral college vote from Maine's 2nd congressional district in 2016 and 2022. Polls show he's likely to win it again. But it is likely that Maine would not be able to pass such legislation, even if its Democrat state legislature majority wanted to. In Maine, new legislation does not go into effect until 90 days after it is enacted. So it's kind of pointless there. This does point to a larger problem that the Republicans are having. And it was something I noticed today. There is a fantastic new ad with, I think it's in Georgia. Tim Walz stops by a phone bank center to make some calls with the Democrats making calls in Georgia. And he actually talks to a bunch of people on the phone saying, get out there and vote. And as I was watching this, the one thing I said is, how many of these call centers are Republicans have right now? Because, once again, they got rid of a lot of their ground game, and they're going into the free market to do some of this. And I haven't seen much of that at all. Large phone banks. The Democrats have offices scattered across all these toss-up states. And as a matter of fact, it sounds like they're actually starting to expand in Florida and Texas, too, which is a really bad sign for Trump. Trump, it seems like the entire game plan was we get Pennsylvania to flip, we get Georgia to flip, we get Arizona to flip. All the other states that voted for me the last time will still vote for me. And we'll get that Nebraska vote taken care of, and I'll win. And, I'm dead serious. That's the entire game plan. They don't seem to have much of a presence on the ground in, say, like Michigan or Wisconsin. Not anymore. Whether they had one in the first place, I'm not that sure. They clearly do not have anything as far as ground game in North Carolina because I don't think they ever thought North Carolina was going to be a problem. And so they're not. I don't think they have that out there. would I be surprised if they had something like Georgia? Yeah, but Florida being close, and the fact that I saw the first poll that showed the Senate race in Texas now with the Democrat in the head of Cruz. Guarantee you they don't have anything down in Texas because they weren't planning on it. They were doing a bargain basement campaign where they were looking not to win places, just win enough votes. Flip one or two states. In Georgia, and it couldn't be clearer than in Georgia. Georgia, they basically said, now every ballot has to be hand counted. They're basically doing everything in their power to rig the election on the front end so Trump wins. That's what they're doing. One thing Republicans have done across the country is hire a bunch of lawyers, because that seems to be the way they're going to try to win this, is to get a bunch of the votes thrown out later on and try to win it that way. The truth is they don't have a freaking game plan. And they're not door knocking. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about that in the 4 o'clock hour. I got a stunning thing that I've discovered. They don't seem to be door knocking. They don't seem to be phone banking. They just seem to basically, well, we're going to get the election board of Georgia to fix that state. We'll try to get the Republicans in Arizona to fix that state. We'll throw everything we've got, although they're grossly outmanned in Pennsylvania. The Democrats have a far better ground game in Pennsylvania than the Republicans do. They'll throw as much as they can into Pennsylvania, and then they have no contingency plan for a state like North Carolina, for Florida, for Texas, for really any of these other states that could potentially go the other way. So this is, when I look at them saying, oh, we're going to flip Nebraska from every district gets an electoral vote to it's a winner take all, that is part of the game plan. That was someone that sat down and said, well, we got to make sure that happens. They are not ready for this. They are not prepared for this. They don't seem to have a game plan outside of just, well, everyone's going to vote for me, and that's just that. And it clearly is not going that way, which is a good sign. But everyone works, everyone votes, everyone participates. When we come back, Philip Anthony, it's the Matt McNeil Show.
Let me tell you. You my little boo thing, so I'll give a hoot what you do. Say, girl, I know you a little too tame.
Broadcasting in Chicago, Seattle, and Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Friday. Hope you have a good weekend out there. Philip Anthony is the host of the Downright Upright Show. You can hear it here on the mothership station, AM 950. Of course, it's podcastable everywhere. He's kind enough to join us today to talk a little bit about politics. Hi, Philip.
Hello there, Matt.
How are you today?
How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you feeling right now as far as this election cycle is going?
Very good. Okay. Much better than when President Biden. Again, President Biden is amazing. Mm-hmm. We all love him. I think the concept of his age was anchoring him down. And now that Kamala Harris is in the race, I think it's buoying everybody to the surface, and we're all excited and all happy, and I couldn't be happier. I don't know about you, Matt. I'm sure you are too, right?
Well, I am, but once again, the Republicans work this stuff like it's a surgical scalpel. And like I said, I was talking about the story about them trying to change Nebraska so that one district will not go for the Democrats. And so they've got a plan in place. Whether or not we counter it, it just comes down to turnout. It comes out to phone banking, volunteering, donating, and making sure everyone votes come Election Day. If that does happen, it's the case. You've, of course, always been a big advocate for the LGBTQIA plus community. Here we have yet another case of one of their Republican firebrands, Mark Robinson, out in North Carolina, out there screaming about the evils of the LGBTQ community, railing against transgender people. And once again, countdown 3, 2, 1, we find out himself he has a bit of a conflicted history here. Yes. Does this ever get I don't think I ever get surprised by this anymore, because it just is. It's so damn predictable from the Republicans.
I'm so used to it by now. I mean, apparently he was watching trans porn.
Yes.
So if you are so dead set against trans people, what the heck are you watching it for on video? It's so hypocritical to me.
And that's the thing. I don't care as long as it's legal and it's consensual. That's what you float your boat. Knock yourself out. The problem isn't the fact that you were watching the porn. The fact is that you rail against it so much. And I read some of the statements he left on that site. I don't think the holidays are going to be very happy this year. I don't think. I think there's a lot of questions.
Historically, if you look back throughout Republican, rule, if you want to use that term, you had people like the guy in the Minneapolis airport tapping his foot, who hated gay people. But meantime, he was arrested for soliciting gay men. So it's just one example of that. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to stop, Matt. It's the way, it's projection, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be, they figure if they could be homophobic, overtly, then nobody's going to think that they're gay or trans or any part of the LGBTQ community, right? I mean,
it definitely is a compensation issue. And I mean, and it's something we've talked about numerous times. The guy at Grindr, he says, when the Republicans get together, we have great numbers here. You can't deny that. You can't hide this. And once again, this is not about shaming you and who you are. If you want to be something, be something. It's about the hypocrisy that you guys have. And frankly, the hate where you sit there and you rail against, whether it's, the transgender community, drag queens, whatever it is, it's hate for hate's sake. And for goodness sake, that's just going to ruin you. And you need to come to grips with who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I go fishing with my friends. Most of them are straight. Mm-hmm. And they say, Philip, the stereotype of gay people is that yada, yada, yada. They you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you don't fit the stereotype. But what's the difference? Even if I did fit the stereotype, we're still human beings. Everybody should be treated the same. And I'm sick and tired of this, you don't look gay, Philip, or I kind of acted a little, but I don't care what people say anymore. I've been there, done that, wore the T-shirt. It's been years since anybody has, called me the F word, because I don't think they would do that to an adult male, to their face. But there are a lot of people, especially in the trans community, that are suffering. They're afraid to walk the street. They may be attacked. They're being on social media. They're being attacked. And thank you, Matt. Again, I always say this. I mean, for being such an amazing ally to our community. I mean, because why aren't more straight men, doing that and coming out and speaking, being, having our back and talking, because it doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't. You are still a man. You'll always be a man, but you're just supporting humanity. That's all it is. No.
I get asked by racists, what race do you think you belong to? I said, the human race, you idiot. It's like a human being. I look at the whole thing as, the people that like to rail against this, that's about them. I mean, it's what is it, Buddhist philosophy, that if you listen to people talk, you'll find out more about them than they will about anything else. And so if you're railing, I'm an ally because, for goodness sakes, I think I'm confident in who I am. I mean, it's one of these things. I think it's great. I've got great friends across the spectrum, and every demographic, every social group, every religious group. I don't care if you're just. I like good people, and the fact is that the people that seem to rail against this, they're just not good. They're just angry all the time, and I just like
all the time. All the time. Well, Mark Robinson in North Carolina is going down. I mean, the man is a mess. So he is. I really see that state, because Stein is going to wipe the floor with him. That's my opinion. Yeah. And I think even though it's a down ballot, it kind of surfaces up too. I mean, I think that would affect Trump's vote there in that state, as well as Arizona. Carrie Lake. I mean, she's a lunatic. She's one French fry short of a Happy Meal. She always turns around saying the election was stolen. And people really believe this? I mean,
well, I'll put in there Royce White here in Minnesota. You know, it's the reverse coattails thing. You're dragging these people down. I think you're spot on about that. But once again, everybody works really hard through the next few months. Philip Anthony, the Downright Upright Show. Find it on your favorite podcast everywhere, right?
Tomorrow, you're going to be on.
I'm going to be on with you here locally on AM 950. Philip Anthony, thank you much. I appreciate the time today.
Bye.
Take care, my friend. We'll take a break. Seattle, Chicago. Have a fantastic weekend. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next. Hour number 2 of the show here on your Friday. Good to be with you today at 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Michael Brodkorb joining us to talk Viking stuff coming up here a little bit later on. But joining us right now is Tabitha Montgomery. She's back. We're having her back on the show. The executive director for the Powderhorn Park Neighborhood Association. The Powderhorn Porchfest is this weekend, Saturday, September 21st from 4 to 10 p.m. She's kind enough to stop on by to talk about all the fun we're going to be having down in Powderhorn this weekend. Hi there. How are you doing today there, Tabitha?
I'm great, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, the last time I chatted with you, you were running around trying to get a whole bunch of stuff done. I imagine you're in the same boat now because tomorrow is a busy day.
Turns out not much changes, so you're exactly right. But we're super excited for the 12th annual Powderhorn Porch Fest. It's a music festival that centers and highlights amazing local talent and brings thousands of people together in the streets of on the block of 17th Avenue in South Minneapolis.
So it started a while back. Why don't you just start off by describing what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing is it's an actual music festival that takes place on the front porches of several homes that lines the block of 17th Avenue. So there's 3 stages, what we lovingly refer to as stages, that several of the community members that live on 17th Avenue have allowed us to do basically a home takeover, if you will, and make sure that there's about 4 to 5 different artists that will then be featured on their front porch. So things kick off at 4 p.m. We'll go strong until about 10 p.m. There's an amazing assortment of food vendors that we partner with, other community partners, et cetera. But it's an amazing time.
And it's on 17th Avenue South between, what are the streets it's between?
Excellent. So it's between 32nd Street and 34th Street. So 2 full city blocks.
So that is actually pretty cool. You guys are doing this,
Yeah.
and it's been going on for a while. Is there is it a wide variety of music? Is it a special kind? How many different bands different genres you have here?
Yeah, so we have 13 different artists. Our headliner, 2 for 1, is an amazing hip hop artist with a variety of roots and background culturally that kind of influences and inspires his genre of music. But we got folks that are going to be playing Americana, folk, country, bluegrass, hip hop. It just runs the gamut. And because it's so eclectic is what we would say, and just has an amazing assortment of artists that should resonate with so many different people, it's because we partner with other local artists to be the curators. So it's not us picking the bands. We partner with amazing partners in community who are also performing artists who pull together, again, the lineup that we're going to be celebrating tomorrow. So shout out to Carlos Lombay and E and Fancy and Bree Becker. Those are this year's 3 curators for each of the 3 stages.
So is this a situation where you approach the houses or the houses approach you? Because I wouldn't mind having a little music there, but I mean, it's a big ask if you think about you're having a concert on your front porch for a few hours.
Yeah. I mean, so we don't let people, what we would call, rush the stage, but people get darn close, right? Like, so, it is a beautiful thing. Like, it really is a block takeover. Like, the streets are packed with people generally. It looks like the weather is going to be really in our favor for most of the day. And so people can get as close typically to people sit on people's front yards, like, so right below the stage. Then you have people, again, into the street. So it's just a beautiful thing. So I think that ultimately why we keep hearing year after year why the homeowners, right, the people who are also helping to basically produce this event, like they are our co-producers, we couldn't do it without them. It is because of the energy and the love and the artists that we're actually working state is bar none first class. Like, we could just not ask for access to the better art, to a better, more vibrant arts community overall. And I think that I say that across all mediums. The last time I was on your show, I was here talking about our art fair, and that was more of the visual artist component. This is the performing artist component, and we feel equally as strong about the rich talent and the caliber of artists that we have the privilege of partnering with every year.
Here's where you succeed. If I can just, looking at this on paper, here's how you can tell it succeeds. It's not one or two artists per house. You've got, I think, 2 houses have 5 different artists going to be performing. 1 house has 4. So you have a constant music lineup, a constant variety. Yeah. That's taking it seriously, and because of that, it elevates it from just kind of a cutesy neighborhood thing into a major event.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, people, I got to tell you, look forward to this thing all year.
Oh, yeah.
Even if a person was to kind of ride down the block right now, what's super cool is seeing how it all comes together. I mean, we have to rely on so many different suppliers. Again, shout out to Warning Lights. We see all of their road signs across the state right now, making our lives different degrees of challenging. But they're so important, right, in terms of as we plan to block off the streets. You'll see the porta potties, but you'll see the signage that says Porchfest this weekend. It is a big deal because I think of all of the different support and excitement that goes into this event. And again, we couldn't do it without the residents along 17th Avenue. They are our best ambassadors. They tell their family, they tell their friends, in addition to all of the wonderful exposure that we get on shows like yours, Matt.
Well, I'm glad to have you guys on because, I mean, as you say, it's a unique event. It's such a Minneapolis-St. Paul event. This is this city. This is why this city is so cool, is because we do stuff like this. All right. It is family. It's a family event. You want to encourage families to come on out there. So let's talk about some of the other things. You got food vendors. You've got some beverage vendors as well, right?
Exactly. So shout out to Brewhaven Brewery, craft brewery, quite frankly. And they're our beer garden host this year. We have 2 beer gardens that basically flank the run of the event venue, right? So that's to help make sure that everybody who's interested in popping into the beer garden is able to do so. So that's going to be a wonderful component. Like I said, we have a dozen different food vendors. So whatever your preferences are, I'm sure there will be something that you can find that meets your needs there. We have community partners. Shout out to the Bell Museum, who will be supporting a community activation. You can create your own star map, if you will, as one of the things that will be kind of kid and family friendly. There's all kinds of yard games that line the street, in terms of how to keep all of that youthful energy engaged throughout the event. And the other thing I want to say is check out the lineup on our website. So go to www.ppna.org. You can see it on the home page, and then there's more details when you say learn more. But plan your day. So if you're not able to be with us the entire time, just figure out what time you can be with there, but be there. And if you're not familiar with the artist, trust me, you will not be disappointed. All of these artists, like I said, are tier 1 caliber artists that play in all the top venues around town. And we're so grateful that they did not think it negligent to spend this time with us, right? That they allowed their talents, or will be allowing their talents, to be featured at this year's event.
There are a few artists. I'm going to ask, will there be places to dance if people want to do some dancing?
Anywhere you feel the spirit moves you, Matt. Okay, that's what I'm going to tell you. Wherever you're standing, in the grass, on the sidewalk, in the street, make your own dance floor is what we encourage you. Coming out of the porta potties, if you're feeling it, do it. We got DJ Buster holding us down for another local radio station, KRSM, so we're forever grateful that they will be also a part of the event. It's just a magical day into evening that we have been so fortunate that is always received well, and it's the harmony there, the connections that you make. I mean, it's almost like, certainly for folks who live in South Minneapolis, if you can't really take two steps without seeing a familiar face and catching up with longtime friends and people in community. We have elected leaders that typically swing by and say hello. It is just an amazing opportunity to demonstrate, really on steroids, the meaning of community building, right? And community building through the arts, a feel-good moment for everybody.
I have a feeling, just judging by the time of the year and what year you're in, you're going to get most of the politicians are going to be starting.
Whether we want it or not, right? Whether we want it or not. No, everybody is welcome. Shout out to everybody, whoever thinks about public service on any level, on whatever side of the aisle you find yourself. This is just me, within all humility, thanking you for thinking that that is work that you've been called to. It's not easy work by any stretch of the imagination. So come on out.
Well,
bring your family, bring your friends.
If you're a politician, this is a no-brainer. This is a fun one. You know, it's like, you know, right. Some of these, sometimes I can get it. You're going to have a good time. So if you're if you're in a neighboring district, just say, hey, I just wanted to see you. Come on over.
Exactly.
They'll let you campaign a little bit. I want to ask you a little bit about, too, I'm going to imagine, okay, so you have 3 houses where you got stages set up. I imagine the other houses kind of look forward to this, and, you know, there's a vibe that's going to go on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but the crazy thing is, and it's not so crazy, everyone, like I said, when I say looks forward to this event, it's not only that they look forward to the event, there are co-producers. You know, we will have all the other households bringing their trash cans out, helping to make sure that, you know, we're being mindful of the waste that this event creates. You have people allowing other partners to plug into their electricity if needed. Do you know what I mean? You have people at the end of the night just not scattering and say, good luck with teardown, but that they're with us until 11 o'clock into the night, making sure that all the equipment that made that day, everything possible, gets returned to their respective spots. You know, you have people loaning people lawn chairs. You have people just camping out all day. You just have this, I think, amazing and real-time example of what it means to build community together. Like, there's no ask that is generally too small or too big. everybody is willing to pitch in.
Well, and a lot of kick caboose music too. And I mean that's absolutely yeah, exactly. It's kind of one of those things where I imagine there's a lot of other neighborhoods they wish they had something like this, but everyone's welcome. You can head on out for there. Let's make sure we mention who are the other sponsors for this. Want to make sure we mention them.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to Renewal by Anderson is a key an investing sponsor for this event. We also want to give some love to Minnesota Bike. That they've been a great partner, and really there's too many to mention, but there's a half a dozen other neighborhood organizations that are also key partners in helping us to bring this to life. So Longfellow, shout out to you, Nokomis East and Hage Pell Diamond Lake and Standish Erickson and Candu and Bryant. You know, it really takes a village on the South Side to continue to keep this tradition alive. So we're deeply grateful.
Powderhorn Porchfest, once again, what are the details for when and where that's at?
Listen, Powderhorn Porchfest 13th Annual Music Festival, South Minneapolis, 17th Avenue, between the 32nd and 3400 blocks, kicks off at 4 p.m., goes into 10 p.m., so whenever you're able to stop by, you will not regret it.
Sounds fantastic. A great thing to do is, once again, September, a grossly underrated month here in Minnesota. So it's good that you guys got this going on. This is going to be a fantastic way to get people out there and enjoying it. It's the Powderhorn Porchfest. Tabitha Montgomery, the executive director of the Powderhorn Park Neighborhood Association. All my best. I appreciate the time. I know how busy you are, so thank you very much. I appreciate it today.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of the show. Thanks, Matt.
You bet. Take care. Tabitha Montgomery joining us once again. Powderhorn Porchfest. Go have some fun. I'll link to everything a little bit later on. Let's take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday.
I'm not above a lucky cash. If all of the kings had their queens on the throne, we would pop champagne and raise a toast to all of the queens.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Good to have you with us today. Oh, I've got a fantastic song for September coming up here in just a little bit. We have, as well, been giving away Kathy Griffin tickets all week long. Yay. She is going to be over at the Pantages Theater on October 11th. Now, here's the deal. There's 2 ways you can win tickets, all right? You can win them on this show, or you can go to the Gailey Show's this is their Instagram page. Like and follow the Gailey Show's Instagram page, and a person that does that this week will have a chance at winning tickets. Good luck with that. Once again, the Gailey Show on Instagram. You could also call right now because I got my final pair of tickets to give away right now to Kathy Griffin over at the Pantages, October 11th. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Caller number 5 at that number, 952-946-6205. Caller number 5, you are going to win the last pair of tickets we've got to Kathy Griffin. So good luck. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. And also a little programming reminder, Michael Brodkorb, Vikings talk coming up here in a little bit. So, last hour, I alluded to the ad for that's online. It's a social media post of Tim Walz at a call center in Georgia. It looks like it's Georgia, and he's taking calls from people and saying, "Hey, are you? I'm Governor Tim Walz. Thanks for we need you to vote and stuff like this." And it's a great ad because, I mean, there's no way in the planet Donald Trump or J.D. Vance would ever do something. Hello, this is J.D. Is this a telephone? A phone? Hello there. It is nice to talk to you on the telephone. This is a phone call, I hear. Yeah, that's J.D. Vance. I mean, it just, yeah. It would be. Walz just says, hey, it's Tim Walz. How you doing? It's Governor Walz, man. You're doing a great job with that. But as I was watching this little social media thing, one of the things that crossed my mind as I was watching it, I was like, how many call centers like this do the Republicans have even? Because once again, if you haven't known, nationally, the Trump campaign basically, when he had Laura Trump take over the GOP, it took away all their money. It was all tribute to Trump. It was all directing funds to him. There is no money. I've heard from Republicans, people that work with Republicans, there is no money like there used to be in a usual election for races down ticket. That money is just getting filtered away to Trump. And they put out this, and there's been a lot said lately about Trump and the fact that he doesn't have the campaign infrastructure that a campaign usually has at this point. And once again, I see Trump doing is he looked and said, well, we have to make sure Georgia goes to Trump. We have to make sure Arizona goes to Trump. We're going to throw a lot into Pennsylvania. But, outside of already, basically gumming up the works with the Republican pro-Trump election board, which once again, if you didn't see this in Georgia, they say that all ballots now have to be hand counted because reasons, and it's going to make that a mess. I mean, we're not going to find out what happened in Georgia for 4 days, 5 days, my guess. But, Arizona, Kerry Lake is so bad. Not only is Arizona there, Pennsylvania, they don't have the ground game that the Democrats do there in Pennsylvania. And then you have states like North Carolina, and you have states like Florida that are actually shockingly close that I guarantee the Republicans were not planning on spending time and money there. So I did all of a sudden just ask myself the question. It's like, all right, well, I can't focus too much on those areas, but what I can focus on is Minnesota. So I went up on Threads, which, by the way, I'm really enjoying being on Threads a lot more than Twitter. Twitter is racism, spam bots, porn bots. It's bigotry, it's Trump mega. It's just disgusting, and it is not going to be long before I shut down that page. I'll probably go through the election cycle, and then the day after the election, that's it on Twitter. I'm just going to go to Threads because Threads is actually good, and I'll give you a great example of this. At 4 hours ago, so at 12:30, after I saw that Walz video, I made this post, a complete unscientific ask. If you are in the Twin Cities metro area or within the suburbs, within, say, 50 miles of the cities, have you gotten a call or door knock from a GOP candidate? Let me know, and regardless of yes or no, let me know what town you're in. Thank you very much. I got 64 responses already. 64. Thank you. And by the way, I can represent Hopkins. I haven't gotten anything from the Republicans. I used to get the Republicans at least stopping by with some literature, maybe a phone call. Nothing. Nothing in Hopkins. I'm just going to go through some of these here. Monticello here. This is S. Ivory, 92. No call or door knock from the GOP, but I'm guessing that's because this area leans so heavily right. They might not be there. But no door knock from the Democrats, but a lot of emails and texts. Now, that's in Monticello. Roseville, no contact. Only in the last week have I seen ads for a GOP candidate at all. Nothing for Royce White. Northern Coon Rapids, nothing there from the GOP there. And once again, I was asking about the GOP candidate if they're stopping by. Nothing in Coon Rapids. Coon Rapids is an area that used to be toss-up. It's not that long ago, last election cycle. Nothing in Coon Rapids. It's my first time we haven't in 30 years. Also telling hardly any GOP campaign signs of any sort. Also telling, given the last past years, they're at least 60% of all the signs. They haven't seen any, and that's in Coon Rapids. St. Cloud, 60 miles out of the city. We've had 4 DFL door knockers, but exactly 0 from the GOP. That's in St. Cloud, man. Falcon Heights, nope. Brooklyn Park, nope. Hugo, nothing. Nothing from either party. Need to get on that DFL. South Minneapolis, no comments, nothing at all. Live in Bloomington, I could possibly have had some calls, but I don't answer the number if it's unfamiliar. With you there, Chet Callio. Elk River, nothing. No door knocking or phone calls in Elk River from the Republicans. New Brighton, Richfield, Egan. Once again, that's competitive Republican territory, and nothing in Egan right now. St. Paul, no. Maple Grove, nothing from the GOP, but nothing from the DFL in Maple Grove. Maple Grove here, no calls or knocks, but she does have a Harris sign out front. Liz, word, girlfriend, word. Shoreview, nothing. Brooklyn Center. This is Golden Valley. I got a call from Joe Frazier a few months ago. He was the guy that lost the primary to Royce White. That's the only Republican that's contacted him. That's in Golden Valley. South Minneapolis, nope. Bloomington, nope. Edina, no. Edina used to be Republican territory. And the Edina folks, they've always run people there, but nothing. White Bear Lake, no. 4 registered voters at my address, no door knocks or phone calls from Republicans in White Bear Lake. Eden Prairie. I mean, we used to mock the War Eagle. War Eagle. The Republican that had the eagle, the War Eagle. This used to be a Republican district. No, man. Eden Prairie, multiple people from Eden Prairie saying nothing from Republicans. No door knocking, no phone calls. Anoka, yes, but they told them no. So, yes, someone did door knock in Anoka. Yes, in Oak Park Heights, who then the Republican described herself as an independent and thought we were soft Democrats. So, yeah, proud Republican door knocking there in Oak Park Heights. Eden Prairie, no. St. Louis Park, no visits here. Hardly anyone that bothers, though. It's mostly D there. Yes, in Carver County, they had one. Blue of St. Paul, no. I will also mention here, since I'm bringing this up, I did my daily post on the Republican Party ignoring Royce White. And I did hear from Shauna. We left southern Minnesota Sunday, headed to the Grand Marais. A few signs are on the way, but more when we headed back home today, especially in southern Minnesota. They must have been out and about a couple of large Royce White signs north on 35 around the Forest Lake, Wyoming area. But, yeah. A big sign right wing on north on 94 past St. Cloud. Okay, those are areas you don't have to win, dude. You've already got those. Today starts early voting in Minnesota. They still can't acknowledge your extremist candidate. That's right, early voting going on right now in Minnesota. I'm going to try to get Steve Simon on here next week to talk about that. What's interesting is I have a friend who her friend is a Republican, and in a red area. She went to phone bank for the Republicans, volunteered to do this. And apparently, when she got there, she was like, okay, so what do I do when I get a Democrat on board for this? And they said, oh, don't worry, you're not going to apparently talk to too many Democrats. You're really only going to be talking to Republicans to get out the vote. Now, once again, I don't really. I mean, that makes some sense. It does. I mean, it's not the strategy. I mean, obviously, if you're the Republican, you got to pick up votes. You've got to. You've got to pick up votes. So that's I don't disagree with the strategy of getting people to turn up to vote because that's important. And once again, every DFLer who's listening to me right now, oh, for God's sakes, get out and vote. And everyone in western Wisconsin who's listening, get out and vote. No one doesn't vote. Everyone votes this time. Everyone does. But if you're a Republican, you want to basically turn the state over, you've got to convince independents and Democrats to vote for you. And so if all you're doing, and this is once again, you're going to a phone bank, you can call anywhere in the state, and they're telling you, oh, you're not going to be talking to any Democrats. I don't know how many independents you're talking to, but if you're just basically trying to get people to show up to vote, you don't have a game plan. If you're putting all your signs out in red areas, you don't have a game plan. If you're not door knocking, or if you are door knocking in the metro area, including the suburbs, and your first thing is, I'm an independent, well, that's not going to go too well for you, I don't think. This is stunning. And first of all, it's cool that Threads is representing as well as it has. I have to admit, I am pretty impressed with Threads as far as the response has gone here. I got another one here. Let me just take a look. Just scroll to the bottom here. Someone else chiming in. Anoka. That's interesting. Anoka. Singing and smiling. Anoka here. No GOPers, but DFLers have been up in Anoka. Wow. Where is the GOP campaign? I mean, if you're just going to beat red districts and talking to a bunch of guys in a pole barn, you're not going to win. You don't have a strategy to win. You're basically conceding the state. My guess is the Republican Party has the internal numbers that show they have no chance here in Minnesota. As a matter of fact, the latest poll I saw was 7 points. I saw a 7-point and an 8-point Minnesota poll. So there you go. They already know they're well behind. So they're basically just saying, get as many of the Republicans out to vote. That's what it seems like. But there just doesn't seem like there's much of a game plan. And once again, this comes down to door knocking. I want to listen. Everyone listening to me, if you're a DFLer, volunteer right now. We got 40-some days to the election. That's it. And the party that door knocks the most in the districts, the party that makes the phone calls, the party that makes the donations, they're the ones that win. I mean, voting is important, by all means. That's not a question. But if you volunteer, you got some time, get out there and volunteer. I will be volunteering some this weekend myself. I want you to find a district, especially one where it's a toss-up district or a slightly red district, a district where a Republican might be running. Ann Johnson Stewart out on that Senate district out on the west side. The East Metro, where these Republicans are trying to out there, although I did have one person say they're out on the east side, they had no Democrat or they had no Republican knock on their door yet. You need to get out there and knock on these doors. Absolutely. It is so important that we do this. Absolutely. Because right now, I'm not seeing anything from the Republicans. Who's their outreach director? Oh, that's right. That's right. One other thing I want to make sure I mention here before I get into the break, we get Michael Brodkorb coming in here in a little bit to talk heavy duty on the Vikings. We have Dotseth is the House rep who we've been talking about this week in regards to frankly, the incredibly disturbing story that's come to light where we now know he had affidavits sworn out by his ex-wife and his stepson for abuse of both of them, Jeff Dotseth, the Republican from Kettle River. We also found out from the Minnesota Reformer story yesterday that not only did he abuse his own dog. He punched and kicked the family's 14-year-old dog along with his ex-wife and son, once again, and he wasn't found not guilty. He pled to a lesser charge because that's a sign you know you're in trouble. So they gave him the lesser charge option. He pled to it. He was never found not guilty, and these affidavits are still out there. He denies that they're true, but once again, he was not found not guilty. He wasn't found not guilty. He was basically pled to the lesser charge. So these are still out there. Abused his wife, abused his son, according to the affidavits, abused the dog, referred to his stepson as Kunta Kinte, and mused that he would own slaves if they were allowed today. Same Republican Party who could not stop gleefully attacking Nicole Mitchell. And once again, I want to say for the record, I said Nicole Mitchell should step aside. Governor Walz said she should step aside. Ken Martin from the DFL said she should step aside. Because she needed to deal with, and I still to a point think that she needs to deal with her personal issues. But this is inexcusable. And not a single Republican has called for him to step aside. Not a single Republican. That is a disgrace. That is an absolute disgrace. Because what they're saying is they're perfectly okay with this behavior and these allegations. They're perfectly okay with it. And no one should be okay with sworn affidavits on spousal abuse, child abuse, pet abuse. And what was that about slavery? Dear Lord. Republicans, you need to look in the frickin' mirror. Because as much as you want to gleefully go after Senator Mitchell, this is a lot worse than Senator Mitchell. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Patrick, who is our winner of the tickets to go see Kathy Griffin?
Bill from Minneapolis. Congratulations.
Bill, enjoy that. Once again, your last chance then, The Gailey Show. Go to their Instagram page. You might be able to win a pair of tickets by liking and following them on Instagram. Michael Brodkorb, our Vikings correspondent. When we do return, it is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday. AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Usually on Fridays here during the season, we talk to Michael Brodkorb. One thing really quick here before I get into this stuff. Michael's not here yet. Hopefully he's going to be joining us here in just a second. Just Dallas wanted to chime in on the signage issue. She was up at Grand Marais last weekend driving around 61. She only saw one Trump sign, and that was the case. So, that was it was one obnoxiously large one, but it was only the one sign. I will say this. You're up there on the Arrowhead region. That's actually a pretty liberal area, especially out St. Louis County. St. Louis County, when you get to the Cook County, Lake County up there, that is a fairly liberal part of the state. So
you might be surprised. I think Cook County, by percentage, it only has about 5,500 people, might be by percentage still the bluest county in Minnesota.
The very point of the arrowhead there? Yeah, I think it is. So that doesn't surprise me. So, but thank you, Dallas. I appreciate you chiming on in. Michael Brodkorb, of course, we bring him on for politics, but we generally on Friday, the football season, he's our Vikings correspondent. He is kind enough to join us today, where once again, Michael and I are geniuses after the win for the after the win the Vikings had against the San Francisco 49ers.
I've never been more excited to come on. I've had a little technical issue here, but I've never been more excited. I've been watching the clock because we're so smart.
we have so been
smart.
Oh,
we are so smart. I've been waiting since Sunday afternoon to come back on and say, you and I are so smart.
I think we're the only ones that have tagged this. Both of us have tagged this the 2 weeks. Why does the 49ers, was it 1992 was the last time the San Francisco 49ers won in Minnesota? Why? Any idea what it is about the 49ers that they just come here and they fall apart?
Well, Matt, it's what we discussed last week. I said, the Seahawks are a team that I never liked the Vikings to play, whether we're at Seattle or at home. But the 49ers, they just feel good about it when they're at home. And so a couple points I would make. There were a lot of people there from San Francisco.
Yes, there were. The crowd images showed a lot there, yeah.
There were a lot of people from San Francisco there. It was a wild game. It was, oh my gosh, it was probably the hottest I've ever been inside U.S. Bank. But it was a fantastic game, and it was just seeing the dynamic. There's something that happens with the 49ers when they come to Minnesota. They just don't play well. And so it's 30 years it's been going on, but it was just great to see. It was just a great game.
Isn't it fun to watch the opposing fans have to leave the stadium with their heads down? Oh, I do enjoy that.
I do enjoy it, particularly on such a miserable day. There were a lot of them, though. Oh, my goodness, probably more than I've seen. I go to a lot of my wife, unfortunately, is a Packers fan, and so I go to a lot of the Packers games at the Metrodome, and that's usually a big crowd. This was, without a doubt, the most opposing teams fans of the opposing team I've ever seen inside the stadium.
Really? Even more than the Packers? Wow.
And I think it was because, Purdy's played at Iowa. I think a lot of those folks were there.
Yeah.
But it was obnoxious. But it was fun. It was fun to walk out. I'm always on my best behavior when I'm at Vikings games. Never got in trouble in all the years I've been there. But it was fun. There was a lot of broken hearts.
There's a lot of people looking for who's still selling beers.
It was such a hot game, and it was just a great game. And boy, oh boy, and you and I, the best part of it is I'm watching the score. I'm like, we called this. We so
did. Smart. Okay, I don't get it. I don't know how we're doing it, but let's see if we can continue it for a third week. Okay, I think hands down the most talented team with weapons is the Houston Texans, which is not something that was on my playbook when this season started. But they are a team that has somehow gotten loaded. Mixon, their running back, the guy from Cincinnati that's now down there, he is not expected to play, which is good, but it is definitely going to be one of those situations where I think of the first three games, this is going to be the toughest defensive game we have faced yet.
You can't say that because the first week's game, that was a must-win game. Remember that one?
Yes.
First game on the season. It's a must-win game. Vikings got to win. It's a must-win game.
Well, but right? We were like that because we were looking at this intimidating. I'm not the Homer fan you are. I'm clearly not. I do get a laugh out of that though, man. Okay, yes, you're right. I was saying they were must win because when you looked at the first four games, I was definitely looking at the Giants and Houston, saying, okay, those are the two games I think we got the best chance at. Hopefully, we can win at Green Bay. That San Francisco game, they're the reigning NFC champs. So you kind of look at it like that. Now I look at this and I don't think. Maybe I just didn't see the Houston Texans for what they were, but Diggs being on that team, they've got a tough wide receiver core. They've got good tight ends, but they don't even have to get to them because they've got so many other weapons. Mixon, like I said, Mixon being out helps us, but Dallas Turner's out for us, and that's their rookie guy, the defensive tackle. I'm a little concerned about how we manage to match up person to person on that offense.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an interesting set. It's going to be an interesting game. I mean the Vikings I don't believe the Vikings have ever lost to the Texans at home. I don't, and so I think the Texans and the Eagles are the Texans have not defeated the Vikings or the Eagles. So I think we have a perfect record against the Texans. So on paper, this should be a good matchup. It's going to be a great game. Two undefeated teams. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to give the edge to the Vikings. I'm giving the edge to the Vikings.
Jefferson's back. He was injured. He had a pretty bad bruise, but they said that he's worked through that. Addison's still out, but is Van Enkel is our defensive super stud that we brought in here? Is he's playing
in there?
Yep, he's playing.
That guy he looks he's right out of Central Casting with the hair and everything. He's just fantastic.
He sniffs out plays, man. Yeah. And he could have easily had another pick six last weekend. I mean, I think Purdy is a better quarterback than the garbage in New York. But I think it was because it is the truth. But Purdy's a better quarterback. And I think his hand, when he has the ball, look at his face. He's like, wow, his face is, that ball came at me pretty quick. I can't grab it in time. And so, but he almost had another pick six.
Yes, and the defense, this is at home. Defense has just been, the defense was just electric on Sunday. And, what a great, a Jefferson, 97-yard play. That was amazing to see. But the defense is just, the defense is just humming. And as I noted on social media, in Flores We Trust, my gosh, what a great pick what a great opportunity we had to get him as defensive coordinator. The defense has been stepping up these last couple games, keeping the Vikings in there. Jefferson, boy, there was a tough series there. We had an intercept. We had Jefferson sidelined, and then we had an interception. And he was out, but he left. It was I think it was a quad. So he's playing on Sunday, which is great. And so I'm going to tell you, I don't know what the spread is. It's probably advantage. Probably heavy,
I think it was two.
I
think it was two for the Vikes, which kind of undermines the home field, but. So
I'm going Vikes.
You're going Vikes. What's your score? Do I have to go put my score out first?
You have to. We have to keep this going.
Okay, I'll do it first.
You got to go first. Wait, are you going Vikes though?
Vikes 21-19.
I'm Jake. Yes, that's it.
I think with Jefferson playing, what does that do? And as that 97-yard touchdown is the key. You got to play deep on Jefferson. You cannot, he cannot get behind you or you're done. So that him playing spreads out their defense. Their defense isn't as good as their offense. And until I see someone stomp the Vikings offense and someone figure out a way to beat the Vikings defense, well, I'm going to go with them. So I'm going to say 21-19 is going to be a close game, but I think that the Vikings are going to pull it out.
Yes, I think there's a ton of energy. That place, I'm talking a lot about like the atmosphere and just how it was on Sunday. There is something special going on. Again, this team is doing things that I don't think a lot of people had an expectation to. As much as I'm a homer, I'm a goober, I'm just a diehard for the Vikings. But one of the things that's important here is just that they're winning. And so now those first four games, Matt, we had talked about the possibility. I mean, you had said maybe 2-2. I thought maybe 3-1. Well, they're going to be 2-2 for sure. Now there's the possibility of 3-1. If they win on Sunday, I think they could go 4-0 because they go into Lambeau Field with the Vikings.
And I think the Packers are making a huge mistake playing Love this week down. And I think he's planning on playing down in Tennessee. I think they're wanting him to start. And I'm like, dude, man, that's an MCL tear. I don't want to see someone's career end. And I mean, and all these guys, well, unless it's the Carolina Panthers, all these guys are hitting you hard. I know.
Yes.
All these guys are hitting you hard. I think they're trying to rush him back. And I think they're looking at that Vikings game of they definitely want him back and playing ready to go. So I think they're already anticipating it being a big deal.
And as we've said, we don't want anyone to be injured, but we do want the Packers organization to go away. We do want them to go away, and so we don't want anyone to get hurt.
They come back from Brazil, you say. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's I thought they were going to stay down there.
Can we just pivot on one subject quickly? Kirk Cousins on Monday night.
He looked better.
What did you think of that game?
I think I thought that was more. I got to be honest with you. I thought that was more Philadelphia, falling apart at the end than it was Atlanta. But this is my point with playing Love down in Tennessee. These teams are made with. They all have really big guys that can move real freaking fast. So if you take them lightly for one play, one series, one quarter, you're done. And I think that's what happened in Philadelphia.
I would agree, and it was an interesting game. It was interesting to see Cousins' mobility. He seemed more mobile. He seemed better, which again is good. I don't think either of us were Cousin haters. We just didn't want him at probably that salary amount.
One final thing, dude. Last night I was watching, I don't know why, Jets-Patriots a little bit. And they bring out Aaron Rodgers, and they say, now I am 55 years old. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 50.
50 years old. They say Aaron Rodgers is the oldest player in the league. He's 40. It's like, he's 40. How does he look 20 years older than me? He looks 20 years older than you, man. Aaron Rodgers looks horrible.
Yeah, he looks rough. I mean, he's not age. Conspiracy doesn't age a person well. A conspiracy does not age a person well.
Stop the hot thing, dude. Whatever the hot box thing you're doing, you need to stop that because you look horrible.
He does not look well, and he seemed a little animated with his coach on the sidelines, too.
I saw that, too, man.
Matt, we really nailed it last week. We've nailed it the first week, nailed it the second week. We'll see if we're on a good streak.
You and I will be texting on Sunday. We'll talk about what's going on. Michael Brodkorb, once again, by the way, really quick, you're going to be doing a live version of your podcast?
Live version of the podcast next Saturday at Minrose.
Okay.
Minfestival, excuse me. Minpost.com for details.
All righty. And then, of course, find the book. Michael, as always, my friend, talk to you later.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll see you next week.
Talk to you next week. We'll come back with some music. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday. Okay, perfect. Now, it is September. We are heading into it. Tomorrow is September 21st, which is the official day of this song. Earth, Wind, and Fire taking us out this week. Have a great weekend. Native Roots Radio is up next. We are back on a Monday, and until then, see ya!